During the rave or the club scene during the 90s and into the noughties, then you'll definitely be familiar with it because uh, it was the fifth biggest selling single in Irish chart history, would you believe? And it spent 10 weeks, count them, 10 weeks at the top of the charts here in, well, you've guessed it, at 2000. Well, now, a quarter of a century on, and the song has become something of an anthem, and as well as that, a cultural phenomenon. There's now a 25th anniversary edition that is streaming, and the man behind the whole thing, Mark McCabe, joins us now, hopefully on the line. Mark,
Good afternoon.
how are you, sir?
I'm good.
You've been dashing around there. You were stuck in traffic and stuff. So, thanks for taking a few minutes. Anyhow,
okay.
The origins go back to Michael Cimbella back in the early 80s, and the song that was in Flashdance. But then there was an Irish band for rhythm. They were in the mid 90s. Is that where you came across it, or how did
Yeah.
you come across it?
Yeah, so they had a version which they released, I think, in 1994, and there was a separate rap which they couldn't get publishing clearance for. Cimbella wouldn't give them clearance for it.
Oh.
So they had to go back and rewrite it and basically rap the original lyric. So they got that cleared, but yeah, on the B side of that was this SoundCrowd remix. SoundCrowd were another Irish dance act, and they had done this remix which basically threw out everything except the female hook. And it was long enough for us to kind of do our own little thing over. And that's what we did.
Yeah, to considerable effect.
Yeah. It kind of worked out all right.
Yes, it certainly did. You're back then. You were working on a pirate station in Dublin, Pulse FM, and
That's right.
that's where the song first saw the light of day, so to speak.
Yeah.
What was the reaction like?
Yeah, so that's where the track was born. So we had been doing it as a kind of a party piece as part of our DJ sets at any of the sort of under 18s or kind of over 18s, nights that we were running as the radio station. And one of the nights we just recorded it, and it ended up being the version that you know and love or hate to this day. Because we started to play it on Pulse, and it was just that version stuck. And it was all very sort of innocent and all very unprofessional, but we managed to kind of hobble together a version which just sort of took off in Dublin, became really, really popular. On the back of that, then a small little record shop which was feeding the whole dance community, records every week was
Abbey Discs. Yeah,
so
every
Billy
DJ in
Murray
the
from
country
Abbey.
used to go there at one stage.
Yeah. So I used to spend my Fridays there, literally, going through tunes and sitting there and having the chats with other DJs as we picked up the tunes for the week.
So you were the fella hugging the sound desk at Abbey.
What's that?
You were the guy that was hugging the listening
Yeah.
desk at Abbey all the time.
And I was the jammy one getting the
All
good
the exclusives.
promos
Yeah.
over
Yeah.
other people, the exclusives. So we were lucky because Billy knew that the radio station was having an impact. So if we played something, he knew that it would go somewhere and people would start to request it. So Maniac became one of the songs that he was getting requests for. People were saying, "Is this available? Can we buy it?" And he just had the foresight and said, "Here, would you like to do this? Would you like to put it out and release it?" And we went, "Okay,
let's do it."
And the rest is history.
Playing it on a radio station is one thing, but it really comes alive when you play it out in the club, and you see the reaction and how well it goes down, and then the chorus, "Oogie Oogie Go." It's inspired. Where did you get the chorus from?
You're right. It is a moment, and still 25 years later, it just blows me away, the reaction and the response that I get to it, and it is one of those things that you might hear it on the radio and be like, okay, fair enough. But when you're actually in the room and you're part of the experience, it is something quite special. So, I don't want to dispel anybody's, I don't want to ruin
Impression.
anybody's lifelong story or love story with the track, but a lot of the lyrics were just off the cuff. On the night they were ad-libbed. There's bits like the Uggy Uggy bit was actually something from when I was in Scouts. It used to be a chant that we did in Scouts, and it just so happened to work in that particular part of the track. So a lot of it is just kind of, inspiration taken from other MCs and stuff like that, So
Well, whoever said that the best work was original?
Exactly.
It doesn't need to be. But
No.
obviously, when you're in the moment, it's what comes to you, and then it stuck, and you managed to get it all down and get it recorded.
Yeah.
And little did you realize that 25 years later, you'd still be talking about this one song. And, you know, in a way, it's brilliant for a career, anyone's career. But then is it almost like a noose around your neck? Mark
It's a double.
McCabe. Oh yeah. Oh, I know
Yeah.
him. Yeah, Maniac
Yeah. Oh,
2000.
well, normally it's like Mark McCabe, and they're like, who? A maniac. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I mean that kind of sums it up, to be honest with you, because it's the track. I'm just the sort of I'm just that thing in the middle between people and the track, and the performance of the track, yes, definitely adds to it. But ultimately it is whatever. Like 25 years is such a long time for anything to exist.
Yeah.
So it's really the more I used to think it was, an easy question to answer or give, my reaction to it in terms of when people say it's 25 years. But the more I understand and the more I think about it, the more I don't understand it, because it is such a long time.
Do you really care? As long as
I don't
do you have,
know.
do you have to
No,
analyze it? Or do you?
yeah. No, all I care about is the people that I meet, the stories they tell me, the good times that they've had, everything that it has done, for people beyond me that I never know about, because, it's living its life with people in their life. And I sometimes never get to know how many times they've sat on a Friday night or Saturday night in their garden, jumping up and down to this thing. But when I do meet people, that's what makes it all worthwhile, and I'm happy to do it for as long as I suppose I can, and as long as people want me to.
You played Electric Picnic 10 years ago, and
Yeah.
and if you needed a reminder of just how popular the song was, and that's 10 years ago, then you got it that night.
That wasn't a reminder. That was a realization.
Ah,
Because I really, up until that point, I didn't understand what it meant to people, because I was too distracted by, the industry talk, or, the sort of the critics who, have long since been silenced, because,
yeah.
here we are chatting about it 25 years later. So it's a really nice position to be in at this stage, because there was an awful lot of hate. There was an awful lot of negativity towards it in the beginning. People didn't understand it, Whereas now, no matter whether you love it or hate it, you just can't argue with the fact, It's just like, well,
It is what it is, and it's
it is what
huge.
it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it is something of a cultural phenomenon. And now you've re-released it and re-recorded it as well for the 25th anniversary.
Yeah. So I didn't want to change it too much, because it is what it is, and the worst thing I could do is go out and try and do a whole new version for this day and age. So it's very similar. You shouldn't really be able to tell the difference between it and the original, but there were just a few things that we made mistakes when we were younger, that we didn't realize what we were doing really. So technically we fixed a few things. So it should sound like, if you put your headphones on and listen to it, it should sound that little bit better, but it should still retain, the original sort of feeling and atmosphere of the track.
The important thing is the vibe should be the same.
Exactly.
We're going to hear it now. Mark McCabe, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.